Hey guys, tonight we begin with the muddy, rat-infested, and absolutely soul-destroying world of World War I trenches, where your feet rotted off inside your boots, rats the size of cats ate corpses next to you, and the smell of mustard gas mixed with death became your daily perfume. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from, and what time it is for you. It is always fascinating to see who is joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake up, or rather, you regain consciousness, because calling it sleep would be generous. Your first sensation isn't sight or sound. It is cold. Not the kind of cold where you pull up a blanket. The kind that is soaked into your bones, your uniform, your skin, and decided to live there permanently. You are standing. You've been standing for hours, maybe days. Because sitting down in a WWI trench means sitting in water, and sitting in water means you might never stand up again. The water is everywhere, not clean water, not even dirty water. This is liquid misery mixed with mud, blood, urine, decomposed bodies, rat feces, and things you've learned not to think about. It is calf deep on a good day, waist deep on a bad one. And there hasn't been a good day since 1914. Your boots are soaked through. They've been soaked for so long that the concept of dry feet has become a distant childhood memory. The leather is stiff, swollen, and fused to your socks, which are fused to your skin, which is starting to come off in chunks. This is trench foot, not the disease you learned about in history class. The disease you are living through right now. Let's talk about what is happening inside your boots, since you can't actually take them off to look. Your feet have been wet for weeks, constantly wet. The blood vessels have constricted to the point where circulation is basically a suggestion. Your skin has turned white, then blue, then a shade of grey. Green that shouldn't exist on living tissue. You can't feel your toes anymore, which sounds like a blessing until you realise it means they're dying. The flesh is literally rotting while you are still walking on it. Gangrene is setting in, and you won't know until the smell gets worse than everything else around you, which is saying something. The medical term is freezing cold injury. The soldier's term is my feet are fucking falling off. Both are accurate. Removing your boots would help, in theory. In practice, if you take off your boots, 3 things happen. First, your feet swell immediately because they've been compressed for so long. Second, you realise the skin is peeling off in sheets, exposing raw tissue underneath. Third, you can't get your boots back on, and boots off in the trenches means you are combat ineffective, which means you are useless, which means you might get shot for cowardice. So you keep them on, and your feet keep rotting. The smell hits you next. It has been there all along, but your nose gave up trying to process it hours ago. Now it is just there, a physical presence in the air that you breathe, eat, and sleep in. It is the smell of death, but not clean death. Not the sanitized version you see in movies. This is the smell of thousands of bodies decomposing in no man's land, mixed with the latrine pit 20 feet away, mixed with the gas that drifted through yesterday and settled into the mud. The mustard gas lingers. That is what nobody tells you about chemical weapons. They don't just disappear after the attack. The stuff sinks into the mud, the walls, the wooden supports. Every time you brush against the trench wall, you might pick up enough residue to blister your skin. Every time the wind shifts, you get another whiff of it, sweet and sickly like rotten fruit, mixed with horseradish. Your eyes water constantly, your throat burns, your lungs feel like you've been breathing broken glass, and you are one of the lucky ones, because you only got a small dose. The guys 2 trenches over got a full attack. They're either dead or wishing they were, drowning in their own lung fluid while their skin blisters off. You try to shift your weight to ease the pain in your legs. This is a mistake. The movement disturbs the water, and something brushes against your boot. A rat. Not a normal rat. Not the small city rats you'd find in a basement. These are trench rats, and they've been eating better than you have. They're the size of cats. Some of them are bigger, sleek, fat, and absolutely fearless, because they've learned that humans in trenches can't do much to them. They've been feeding on corpses for 4 years, and it shows their fur is glossy. Their eyes are bright. They're healthier than any soldier you've seen in months. One of them is watching you right now from a gap in the trench wall, just watching, waiting. They've learned patience. They know that eventually you'll fall asleep or get shot, or die of disease, and then you are dinner. There are hundreds of them, maybe thousands. They're in the walls, under the duckboards, in the dugouts, everywhere. You hear them at night, squeaking and fighting over something you don't want to identify. Sometimes you hear them in no man's land, swarming over the fresh bodies after a failed attack. They're not afraid of you. Why would they be? You are just another food source waiting to happen. A soldier near you tries to shoot one, misses. The rat doesn't even run. It just waddles a few feet away, too fat to move quickly, and continues gnawing on whatever it was eating, which looks suspiciously like a human hand. The rats spread disease, trench fever, typhus, other things that don't have names but will kill you just as dead. Their fleas carry infections. Their bites get infected. Everything gets infected because everything is covered in mud and rot and filth. You've stopped trying to kill them. It is pointless. For everyone you kill, 3 more appear. They've adapted to this hell better than you have. They've thrived in it. Some men have gone crazy trying to fight the rats, staying up all night with clubs, smashing them against the walls. But the rats always win. They always come back. And the men end up in the medical tent, screaming about eyes in the darkness. Your stomach growls. Breakfast is coming. The word breakfast is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. What you get is tea. Not good tea. Water boiled in old petrol cans, which gives it a distinctive flavour of gasoline and rust. Then biscuits. Hard-tack biscuits that are harder than the sandbags, and about as edible. You've seen men break teeth on them. The smart ones soak them in the tea first, but that just makes them taste like gasoline, flavoured paste. Sometimes there is bacon, sometimes there is jam. Both have usually been sitting in transport for weeks, and have taken on the taste and texture of whatever they were packed near. The bacon might taste like soap. The jam might taste like diesel fuel. You eat it anyway because the alternative is starving. The food comes up the communication trench, carried by soldiers who are only marginally less miserable than you. It is cold by the time it arrives. If it arrives, sometimes a shell lands near the carrying party, and your breakfast is now decorating 100 yards of mud. You eat standing up, in the water, because there is nowhere to sit. The biscuit falls in the water. You fish it out and eat it anyway. It is no dirtier than anything else. A piece of bacon falls off your fork into the water. A rat immediately swims over and takes it. You are too tired to care. Let him have it. He probably needs it more than you do. After breakfast, if you can call it that, comes the work. Because standing in a trench full of water isn't enough. You have to maintain the trench, which is like mopping in a rainstorm, but with more death. The sandbags are rotting. They've been sitting in water and mud for months, and the fabric is disintegrating. Sand leaks out, the walls collapse, and you have to rebuild them. This means filling new sandbags with mud, which is mostly water, which means they weigh about 40 pounds each, and will probably collapse again in a week. You lift one. Your back screams. You've lifted thousands of these. Your spine has stopped being a support structure and is now just a collection of pain held together by scar tissue. The duckboards need replacing. These are the wooden planks that make up the floor of the trench, keeping you out of the deepest water. In theory, in practice, they're rotted, broken, or missing, and walking on them is like playing Russian roulette with your ankles. Step on a good board, you are fine. Step on a bad one, it breaks. You plunge into water, up to your waist, and whatever was under the board, which might be a dead rat, might be a severed hand, might be something worse, is now touching you. A soldier near you steps on a bad board. He falls forward, plunges arm deep into the mud, and when he pulls his hand out, there is something attached to it, something that used to be human. He screams, shakes it off, vomits. No one helps him because everyone has been through the same thing. You keep working. The alternative is being shot for refusing orders. The drainage pump is broken again. There is supposed to be a system to pump water out of the trenches. Supposed to be. But the pumps break constantly, and even when they work, they can't keep up with the rain, which is always falling. Always. Forever. Until the end of time. An officer walks by, inspecting. He is cleaner than you. Not clean, but cleaner, which means he has access to something resembling shelter. He comments that the trench is in poor condition and needs to be improved. You don't say anything. Saying anything would be insubordination. But you think about the fact that you've been standing in freezing water for 6 days straight, that your feet are rotting, that you haven't slept more than 20 minutes at a time, and that maybe the trench is in poor condition, because it is an open sewer in the middle of a battlefield, and no amount of work will fix that. He moves on. You keep working. Midday comes. The sun appears briefly, which makes everything worse. Because now you can see clearly. You can see the color of the water. You can see the things floating in it. You can see the state of the men around you. They look dead. Most of them are still alive, technically. But they have the eyes of corpses, hollow staring. They've seen things that can't be unseen, and it has killed something inside them that won't grow back. Some of them are shaking. Not from cold, though it is freezing. From shell shock. The constant artillery has broken their nervous systems. Every loud noise makes them flinch. Some of them can't stop shaking at all. They'll be sent to the rear eventually, if they survive long enough. And if they're lucky, they'll be treated. If they're unlucky, they'll be shot for cowardice. There is a new soldier in your section. Fresh from training, clean uniform. Bright eyes. He looks around the trench with something like horror, which is the only appropriate response. He asks when we get relieved. You tell him 4 more days. His face falls. He asks where we sleep. You gesture at the wall of the trench. He thinks you are joking. You are not. He asks about the smell. You tell him he'll get used to it. This is a lie. You never get used to it. You just lose the ability to care. He sees a rat. A big one. He jumps back, splashing water everywhere. The other soldiers laugh. But it is not a kind laugh. It is the laugh of men who have forgotten kindness. You give him 2 weeks before he looks like the rest of you. Hollow. Dead inside. Standing in water, waiting to die. The afternoon brings rain. Of course it does. It always rains. If it is not raining, it is about to rain. If it is not about to rain, it rained an hour ago and will rain again soon. This isn't gentle rain. This is cold, driving rain that finds every gap in your uniform and exploits it. Rain that turns the trench floor into soup. Rain that makes the walls collapse. Rain that fills your helmet if you tilt your head wrong. The water level rises. It was calf. Deep. Now it is knee. Deep. In an hour it might be waist. Deep. There is nowhere to go. The trenches behind you are just as flooded. The trenches in front of you are German and would prefer to shoot you. So you stand in the rising water and wait for it to stop. It won't stop, but you wait anyway. Your uniform is soaked through. It weighs an extra 20 pounds. The wool holds water like a sponge, and it is dragging you down. You can't take it off because you'd freeze to death. You can't keep it on because it is freezing you to death anyway. You are dying either way. Choose your method. The cold isn't like winter cold. This is wet cold. The kind that bypasses your skin and goes straight to your organs. Your core temperature is dropping. Your body is burning calories just trying to stay alive. But you don't have calories to burn because breakfast was gasoline, tea and a biscuit. You are shivering so hard your rifle is shaking. If you had to shoot right now, you'd miss. Good thing the Germans are probably just as cold and just as miserable. Or maybe that is not good. Maybe if both sides were comfortable, they'd stop shooting. But comfort isn't an option in 1917, so the shooting continues. Speaking of shooting, there is a sniper out there. German, somewhere in no man's land or in their trench. He has been active all day. 2 men dead so far. Both headshots, both instant. The rule is don't look over the parapet. Don't stick your head up. Don't give him a target. But sometimes you forget. Sometimes you need to see. Sometimes you just stop caring whether you live or die. A soldier 3 positions down from you forgets. Sticks his head up for just a second. Just a peek at no man's land. The sound comes after. Crack. Wet thump. He drops. Half his head is gone. Just gone. Skull, brain, face evaporated by a bullet moving faster than sound. What is left is leaking into the water. No one screams. No one runs to help because he is dead, obviously, and there is nothing to be done. And moving too fast might attract the sniper's attention. 2 men drag his body to the back of the trench. They'll move it tonight. Maybe. For now it sits there leaking, while everyone tries not to look at it. The rats are looking at it, though. They're very interested. You try not to think about the fact that could be you. That is you. In every timeline where you stuck your head up instead of him. That will be you eventually. Because everyone dies here. It is just a matter of when and how. The new soldier is crying. Quietly. So the sergeant doesn't hear. He has never seen death before. Not like that. Not sudden and random and meaningless. You want to tell him it gets easier. But that would be a lie. It doesn't get easier. You just run out of emotions to feel. Evening comes. Not that you can tell by the sun, which you haven't seen in days. You can tell because someone shouts that it is time for stand. Stand to is a special kind of stupid. It is the 2 hours at dawn and dusk when everyone has to stand at the firing step. rifles ready, in case the enemy attacks. Because apparently dawn and dusk are the most likely times for an attack. You are already standing. You've been standing all day. But now you have to stand at attention, rifle ready, staring into no man's land, which is a wasteland of mud, barbed wire, shell holes, and bodies. The bodies have been there for weeks. Some of them are German, some of them are British, some of them are French. They're all rotting together in democratic decomposition. Some of them are moving, not because they're alive, because the rats are eating them. You watch a rat crawl out of a corpse's mouth. It is holding something. You don't want to know what. It sees you, makes eye contact, and continues eating. Dominance established. No man's land stretches for 200 yards of absolute hell. Shell holes full of water and bodies. Barbed wire that has been blown apart and tangled into impossible configurations. Unexploded shells that might go off if you breathe on them wrong. Gas clouds that linger in the low spots. And somewhere out there, in the German trench, are men doing exactly what you are doing. Standing in water, feet rotting, watching rats eat their friends, waiting to die. You could probably walk over there and shake hands and agree this is insane. But you won't, because there are machine guns and snipers and officers on both sides who would shoot you for trying. So you stand there, staring at dead men and rats, for 2 hours. Then you are allowed to stop standing at attention and go back to just standing normally. Progress. Night falls. This should be a relief. It is not. Nighttime in the trenches is when the rats come out in force. You hear them everywhere, squeaking, fighting, eating. The sound of tiny feet on wood, the sound of gnawing, the sound of something being dragged through the mud. You can't see them, which is worse than seeing them. Your imagination fills in the gaps. Every sound becomes a rat the size of a dog. Every movement in the darkness becomes a swarm. You try to sleep standing up. This is a skill you've learned. Back against the trench wall, rifle propped next to you, knees slightly bent. You can get maybe 20 minutes of unconsciousness before your legs give out, or a shell lands close enough to wake you. 20 minutes of sleep in chunks throughout the night. Maybe 2 hours total if you are lucky. But you are not lucky. Nobody here is lucky. Lucky people didn't end up in the trenches. You drift off. Something touches your face. You jolt awake. A rat is on your shoulder. A big one. It was investigating your face, probably checking if you were dead yet. You swat it away. It falls into the water, swims to the wall, and climbs back up. It'll be back. They always come back. You can't fall asleep again. Every time you close your eyes, you imagine rats crawling on you, which they might be. You can't tell anymore. Midnight. The artillery starts. This isn't targeted fire. This is random harassment fire. Both sides do it. Just shooting shells into the air to land somewhere in the enemy trenches, kill someone, destroy morale. The sound is impossible to describe. It is not just loud. It is a physical force that hits you in the chest. Each shell is an earthquake. Each explosion is the world ending. They're landing close. You can tell by the way the ground shakes. Dirt rains down. The trench walls crack. Water sloshes. One lands 50 yards away. The flash lights up the night. The sound arrives a second later, loud enough to make your ears ring. Shrapnel sings through the air, hitting sandbags, wooden supports, anything in its path. A piece of hot metal lands in the water near you. It hisses and steams. 6 inches to the left, and you'd be dead. The bombardment continues for an hour. Random death raining from the sky. You can't do anything. Can't hide. Can't fight back. Can't run. Just stand there and hope the next one doesn't have your name on it. When it stops, you check the casualties. 2 dead. 3 wounded. The wounded are screaming. One of them is missing a leg. The other 2 have shrapnel wounds. Metal fragments, embedded in flesh. The medics come. They do what they can, which isn't much. The seriously wounded will be carried to the rear if they survive the trip. The minor wounds get bandaged, and the men stay here because there aren't enough replacements. The man with the missing leg is going into shock. He is white, shaking, mumbling about home. The medics give him morphine and promise he'll be okay. He won't be okay. He'll probably die of infection in a week, assuming he makes it to the hospital, which he might not. You go back to standing in the water. 3 in the morning. The raid happens. Not your raid. You are not that unlucky. The Germans are raiding. You hear it before you see it, shouting in German. Grenades. Gunfire. screaming. It is happening 2 trenches over. A German raiding party crossed no man's land in the dark, jumped into the British trench, and is now killing everyone they can find before retreating. You hear the fight, close combat, bayonets, clubs, fists, men killing each other in the dark with whatever they can reach. It lasts 10 minutes, then silence. The Germans retreat. The British count their dead. 7 killed, 12 wounded, 3 missing, taken prisoner. For what? To prove they could do it. To gather intelligence. To destroy morale. Your trench is on high alert now. Everyone awake, rifles ready. In case they come here next, they don't. But you don't know that. So you stand there in the freezing water, adrenaline pumping, waiting for Germans to appear out of the darkness. They never come. You stay alert for 3 hours anyway. By the time you are allowed to relax, it is dawn, which means stand. To again. You've been awake for 24 hours. Your eyes are burning. Your body is shutting down. But you stand at the firing step, rifle ready, watching no man's land, because those are the orders. Day 3, or is it 4? You've lost track. Time has no meaning in the trenches. There is only wet, cold, hungry, tired, and scared. Those are the only units of measurement that matter. Your feet are worse. You can't feel them at all now, which is definitely not good. When you shift your weight, there is a wet, tearing sensation inside your boots. Skin coming off, flesh separating from bone. You try not to think about it. A soldier near you finally takes off his boots. He has been ordered to by the sergeant, who noticed he is limping. The boots don't come off easily. They fuse to his socks. The socks have fused to his skin. When he finally gets them off, everyone nearby looks away. His feet are black, not figuratively. Literally black. The toes are gangrenous. Dead tissue. The smell is overwhelming, which is saying something given the ambient smell of the trench. The medic takes one look and calls for a stretcher. This man is going to the hospital, and then he is going to lose his feet. Both of them. Amputated below the ankle, if he is lucky, below the knee, if he is not. He is crying, not from pain, from relief, because losing his feet means he is going home. He'll never walk properly again, but he won't die in the trenches. That is a win. You check your own feet by feel. Still there, still attached, still rotting. You'll keep your boots on. Morning brings breakfast, same as yesterday. Gasoline tea and hard biscuits. A tin of bully beef that is more gristle than meat. You eat it cold because there is nowhere to heat it. The bully beef is allegedly edible. The key word is allegedly. It has been in a tin for months, maybe years, and it tastes like salted cardboard with a hint of despair. But it is protein, and protein keeps you alive, so you eat it. A rat tries to steal some from your tin. You stab it with your bayonet. It dies. 3 more rats immediately appear and start eating the dead one. You've achieved nothing except adding to the rat food supply. After breakfast, the announcement comes. You are going over the top tomorrow. Not a raid, an attack, a proper assault. The big push. Everyone over the parapet, across no man's land, into the German trenches. Or die trying. Mostly die trying. The officer explains the plan. Artillery will bombard the German trenches for 2 hours. This will definitely destroy their machine guns and barbed wire and morale. Definitely, just like the last 5 times. Then you'll advance. Walk, don't run, because running causes disorder. Walk across 200 yards of open ground. The Germans will be too stunned to shoot. Definitely. You'll reach the German trenches and capture them. Then you'll hold them against the inevitable counterattack. Then reinforcements will arrive. Then you'll advance again. Then you'll win the war. Then you'll go home. Then you'll wake up, because this is clearly a fever dream. No one asks questions. Questions are insubordination. Everyone just nods and tries not to think about the fact that they're going to die tomorrow. The rest of the day is preparation. Cleaning rifles, checking ammunition, writing letters home that lie about how you are doing fine, and the war will be over soon. You write to your mother. You tell her you are safe. You tell her the food is good. You tell her you'll be home by Christmas. Christmas of which year? You don't specify. You don't tell her about the rats, or the rot, or the fact that your feet are turning black, or the fact that tomorrow you are going to walk into machine gun fire and probably die screaming in a shell hole. You seal the letter. If you die, someone will mail it. It is a tradition. The dead get their last letters sent. It is the least the army can do, given that they killed you. Evening comes. No one sleeps. Everyone is too nervous. You stand in the water, in the dark, listening to the rats, thinking about tomorrow. Some men are praying, some are crying quietly, some are writing more letters, some are just staring into nothing, already dead behind the eyes. The new soldier asks if it is always like this before an attack. You tell him yes. He asks if it gets easier. You tell him no. He asks what to do when you go over the top. You tell him to run fast, keep your head down, and if you get shot, try to fall in a shell hole so you don't die in the open. He asks what happens if you refuse to go over. You tell him you get shot by your own side. He goes quiet. Midnight, an officer comes by with rum, the official rum ration. This is supposed to steady the nerves before battle. What it actually does is get everyone slightly drunk, which makes them either braver or stupider. Usually both. You drink your ration. It burns going down. It is probably the warmest you felt in weeks. You immediately want more. You don't get more. Some men save their rum to trade. Some drink double rations if they can get them. Some refuse it entirely because they want to die sober. All choices are valid when you are dying tomorrow. 3 in the morning. The bombardment starts. The British artillery opens up all at once. Hundreds of guns firing. The sound is so loud it stops being sound and becomes pressure. Your chest vibrates with each shot. Your teeth rattle. Your bones shake. This goes on for 2 hours. 2 hours of constant noise. 2 hours of shells screaming overhead and landing in the German trenches. 2 hours of hoping this time it will actually work. You watch the shells land. Flashes of light. Columns of dirt. Smoke. The German trenches are disappearing under the barrage. Surely nothing could survive that. Surely. But you've thought that before, and then you went over the top and discovered the Germans had deep bunkers and the machine guns survived just fine, and your friends died in rows. 4 in the morning. The sun isn't up yet. The bombardment stops. Silence. Relative silence. Your ears are ringing so loud you can barely hear anything else. The order comes. Fix bayonets. You pull out your bayonet and attach it to your rifle. The click is final. This is not a tool for shooting. This is a tool for stabbing, for close combat, for killing a man while looking him in the eyes. The whistle blows. Over the top. You climb the ladder. Your legs are shaking. Your hands are shaking. Everything is shaking. You reach the top. You go over the parapet. No man's land stretches in front of you. 200 yards of hell. Shell holes. Barbed wire. Mud. Bodies. And somewhere in the smoke, German machine guns. You start walking. Not running. Walking. Those are the orders. A walking pace rifle at the ready, advancing in a line. The first machine gun opens up. You hear it before you see it. That distinctive sound. Rapid fire. Death at 1,000 rounds. Per minute. Men start falling. Not near you. 50 yards to your left. They drop in rows. Whole sections cut down like wheat. You keep walking. More machine guns. More men falling. The line is thinning. You step over a body. It is the new soldier. He has been hit in the chest. He is still alive, reaching up, trying to say something. You can't stop. Stopping means dying. You keep walking. The barbed wire isn't cut. The artillery was supposed to destroy it. It didn't. It is still there, tangled and thick. You'll have to go around or through. Men are getting caught in the wire. Easy targets. The machine guns focus on them. They die hanging on the wire like clothes on a line. You find a gap. You squeeze through. Barbs. Tear your uniform. Your skin. You don't care. You are through. A shell lands 10 feet away. The blast throws you sideways. You land in a shell hole, water and mud. Your ears are ringing worse than before. You might be wounded. You can't tell. You check yourself. Arms, legs, chest. Everything still attached. Just bruised. You are alive. The shell hole is full of water and bodies. 3 British soldiers, dead from a previous attack. They're floating face down. One of them has no head. You crouch in the water with the corpses, bullets snap overhead. You can't stay here, but you can't leave either. Leaving means standing up. Standing up means dying. You wait. Other soldiers are in shell holes too. Some are wounded. Some are dead. Some are just hiding, trying to survive. An officer appears at the edge of your shell hole. He is yelling to advance, to get up and keep moving. You get up. You make it 10 yards before the machine gun finds you. You feel the impact before the pain. Your leg. You are hit. You fall, not gracefully. You collapse face first into the mud. The pain arrives a second later, hot, sharp. Your leg is screaming. You roll over. Look at the wound. The bullet went through your thigh, clean through. You are bleeding heavily. You try to stand. Can't. Your leg won't support weight. You are stuck here, in the middle of no man's land, bleeding. This is how you die. Not gloriously charging the enemy, not defending your position, just bleeding out in the mud while rats watch and wait. But you are not dead yet. You crawl, dragging yourself backwards towards the British trenches. It is 50 yards. Might as well be 50 miles. Each movement is agony. Your leg is leaving a trail of blood. You are getting weaker, dizzy, cold. A soldier grabs you, starts dragging you. You don't know who he is. You can't see his face, but he is pulling you back towards the trench. Machine gun fire. Your rescuer grunts, stumbles. He has been hit too, but he keeps going, keeps dragging you. You reach the trench, fall in, land in the water with a splash. Your leg is on fire. You are bleeding into the same water you've been standing in for days. A medic appears, cuts open your trouser leg, looks at the wound, says you are lucky. The bullet missed the bone in the artery. You'll live, probably. He bandages you, tight, very tight. The bleeding slows. He gives you morphine. The pain becomes distant, manageable. You are done. You are wounded. You are going to the rear. You are leaving the trenches. You should feel relieved. You don't. You feel guilty. Guilty for being happy about getting shot. Guilty for leaving while others are still out there. Guilty for surviving. They carry you to the casualty clearing station. Other wounded men are everywhere, screaming, bleeding, dying. The medics are overwhelmed. You wait your turn. Your leg throbs despite the morphine. You are cold, wet, exhausted. A nurse appears. She is the first woman you've seen in months. She looks at your wound, checks your bandage, marks something on a tag attached to your uniform. You ask about the attack. How did it go? She doesn't answer. Her face tells you everything. It failed. Of course it failed. They carry you to an ambulance. You are loaded in with 5 other wounded men. The ambulance starts moving, taking you away from the front, away from the trenches, away from the rats and the mud and the death. You look back one last time. You can see the trenches in the distance. Thin lines scarring the earth. Men are still in there, still standing in water, still rotting, still waiting to die. You are one of the lucky ones. You got out. You survived. But as the ambulance drives away, you realize something. Part of you is still back there. Part of you will always be back there. Standing in water, feet rotting. Rats watching, waiting for the whistle to blow. The trenches don't let you go. Even when you leave, they keep you. You close your eyes, but all you see is mud. All you hear is machine guns. All you smell is gas and death. You are out of the trenches, but the trenches aren't out of you. 3 weeks later, you are in a hospital in England. Your leg is healing. The infection almost killed you, but they saved it. You'll walk again, with a limp. But you'll walk. Your feet are recovering too. They amputated 3 toes. The others might survive. You are lucky, they say. Some men lost everything below the ankle. You don't feel lucky. The hospital is clean, quiet, warm, dry. Everything the trenches weren't. You should be grateful. You are grateful. But it doesn't feel real. The nurses are kind. The food is hot. The bed is soft. You are safe. But every night you dream about the trenches, about the water, about the rats, about the machine guns. You wake up screaming. The other patients understand. They're all screaming too. A doctor asks how you are feeling. You say fine. And this is a lie. You are not fine. You'll never be fine again. He asks about your sleep. You say it is good. Another lie. You haven't slept through the night since before the war. Every time you close your eyes, you are back there. He nods, like he believes you. He doesn't. He has seen too many men lie about the same thing. You are informed you'll be returning to France in 6 weeks. Once your leg heals, once you can walk, once you can hold a rifle, you are going back to the trenches. You want to refuse. You want to run. You want to do anything except go back. But refusing is desertion, and desertion is execution. So you'll heal, and you'll walk, and you'll get on a ship back to France, and you'll march back to the front, and you'll climb down into the trenches. And the water will be there, and the rats will be there, and your feet will start rotting again, and you'll stand there, waiting to die, until either a bullet finds you, or the war ends. That is your future. That is everyone's future. Standing in water, rotting, waiting. The nurse brings you dinner. Roast, beef, potatoes, vegetables, real food. You eat it. You don't taste it. All you can taste is gasoline, tea, and mud. She asks if you need anything. You say no. What you need doesn't exist anymore. You need to not hear machine guns in every car engine. You need to not flinch at every loud noise. You need to not see rats in every shadow. You need to not smell death everywhere. But those things are inside you now. The trenches are inside you, and they're not coming out. You look out the window. England is green, peaceful, normal. People are walking around, living their lives, complaining about small things. They have no idea what is happening across the channel, no idea what you've seen, no idea what you've become. You are 19 years old. You should be thinking about work, or girls, or the future. Instead, you are thinking about whether you'll die by machine gun or artillery, whether you'll drown in a shell hole or suffocate from gas, whether you'll lose your other foot to trench rot or just lose your mind. This is what the trenches do. They don't just kill your body. They kill your ability to imagine a future without them. You try to remember what you wanted before the war. You can't. That person doesn't exist anymore. He died in the trenches. You are what is left. A volunteer brings newspapers. There are articles about the war. They talk about bravery and honour and sacrifice. They use words like glory and duty. They don't mention the rats. They don't mention the rot. They don't mention standing in freezing water for days until your feet fall off. They don't mention the screaming. The constant, endless screaming of wounded men dying slowly. They don't mention that last week a man in your trench went insane and tried to attack a rat with his bare hands. The rat won. The man is in an asylum now. If he is alive. They don't mention that you've seen men drown in mud. Actually drown. Stuck in a shell hole, water rising, unable to get out, screaming for help that never came. They don't mention the smell. Nothing in the newspapers ever mentions the smell. You fold up the newspaper. You don't want to read about the war. You are in the war. You know what it is. And it is not what they're writing about. 6 weeks pass. Your leg heals. You can walk. You are declared fit for duty. They give you a new uniform. Clean. It won't stay clean. They give you a rifle. Oiled. It won't stay oiled. They give you orders. Report to the depot. You'll be shipped back to France. You want to run. You could run. Desert, disappear. But they shoot deserters. And even if they didn't, where would you go? The trenches are everywhere now. Inside your head, you can't run from those. You report to the depot. Other men are there. Some are returning like you. Some are new recruits, fresh and terrified. You remember being like that. It was months ago. It feels like years. The new men ask questions. What is it like? Is it bad? Will we be okay? You don't answer? What are you supposed to say? Yes. It is worse than anything you can imagine. No, you won't be okay. You'll either die or wish you had. You board the ship back to France. The channel is grey, cold. You are going the wrong direction. Everyone else in the world is trying to get away from the war. You are going towards it. You land in France. The smell hits you immediately. Even miles from the front, you can smell it. Smoke, death, mud. The smell of the trenches. You march. Days of marching. Closer to the front. Closer to the sound of artillery. The sound that never stops. The sound that lives in your skull. You reach the reserve trenches. Then the support trenches. Then the communication trench. Then the front line. You are back. The water is still here. The rats are still here. The smell is still here. Nothing has changed. Men died. New men took their places. The war goes on. You take your position. Same as before. Standing in water. Rifle in hand. Waited. Your feet start to hurt within hours. The rot is coming back. It never really left. A rat watches you from the trench wall. It might be the same rat from before. They all look the same. Fat, sleek, waiting. An officer walks by. He welcomes you back, like you went on vacation, like this is a job you can return to, like any of this is normal. You don't respond. You just stand there, in the water, in the trenches. Night falls. The artillery starts. The machine guns chatter in the distance. Men scream somewhere down the line. You are back in hell. And hell is exactly as you left it. Standing in water, feet rotting, rats everywhere, the smell of gas and death, the cold, the hunger, the fear. This is your life now. This is everyone's life. Standing in trenches, waiting to die. The war has been going on for 3 years. It will go on for another year. More than 1 million men will die in the trenches. From bullets, from shells, from gas, from disease, from drowning in mud, from going insane and shooting themselves. You might be one of them, probably will be. The math isn't good. Most men who come to the trenches don't leave, not alive, not sane. But you are here now, standing in water, feet rotting, rats watching. Welcome back to the trenches, where you wouldn't last a day if you weren't already dead inside. And this is just the Western Front. This is just one section. This is just one war. Somewhere else, other men are dying in other ways, in deserts, in mountains, at sea. The war is everywhere. The dying is everywhere. But here, in the trenches, the dying is special. It is slow. It is wet. It is cold. It is accompanied by rats. You settle in for another night, standing in water. Because sitting means drowning. Because lying down means the rats think you are food. Your feet hurt, your legs hurt, your back hurts. Everything hurts. You are 20 years old and you feel 60. If you survive the war, you'll spend the rest of your life limping, coughing from the gas, flinching at loud noises, dreaming about rats and mud and machine guns. If you survive, you probably won't. But you are here now, in the trenches, in the water, with the rats. And tomorrow, you'll wake up. Or rather, you'll regain consciousness. Because calling it sleep would be generous. And you'll stand in the water, and your feet will rot a little more. And the rats will get a little bolder. And the smell will get a little worse. And you'll wait for relief, for attack, for death, whichever comes first. Welcome to the trenches of World War I, where the average life expectancy was measured in weeks, where feet rotted off, where rats grew fat on corpses, where mustard gas lingered in the mud for days, where you wouldn't last a day. But the men here did, for years, standing in water, rotting, waiting. They were tougher than we can imagine. They endured things we can't comprehend. They survived hell. And we complain about our commute. Think about that next time your feet hurt from standing too long. At least they're not rotting. At least there aren't rats. At least the ground isn't trying to kill you. The trenches of World War I were the worst place humans have ever created to slowly kill each other. Worse than any battlefield before or since. Because it combined the brutality of modern weapons with the primitive conditions of medieval sieges. You had machine guns and artillery, and you had trench foot and rats. The worst of both worlds. And men lived in this. For years. Because they had no choice. So yes, you wouldn't last a day in the trenches. Neither would I. But they did. Remember that. But we're not done yet. Because we haven't talked about the lice. Oh, the lice. You thought the rats were bad. The rats are visible. You can see them coming. You can fight them, theoretically. The lice are everywhere. In your uniform, in your hair, in your beard, in places you don't want to think about. And they're eating you alive. They're called body lice, but that is too clinical. The soldiers call them chats or cooties. You call them hell because that is what they are. You first notice them about a week into your rotation. An itch. Just a small itch. You scratch it. The itch spreads. Within 2 weeks, you are covered. Thousands of them, maybe tens of thousands, living in the seams of your uniform, feeding on your blood, laying eggs by the hundreds. The itching is constant, maddening. You can't stop scratching. Your skin is raw, bleeding, infected. But you can't stop because the itching never stops. At night, when you are trying to sleep standing up, the lice are most active. You can feel them crawling, moving across your skin in waves. It is like your entire body is vibrating with insects. Some men go insane from the lice, not from the war, from the itching. They tear off their uniforms in the middle of winter and scratch themselves bloody. They're sedated, if there is sedatives shot. If there is not, and they won't calm down. The only way to deal with lice is to delouse. This happens when you rotate to the rear trenches. If you are lucky, they take your uniform, heat it over a fire or in a steam chamber, and kill the lice. In theory. In practice, the heat kills the adult lice, but not the eggs. The eggs hatch in a few days, and you're infested again. It is a cycle, an endless, itching cycle. You try other methods. Some men run candles along the seams of their uniforms, burning the lice. You can hear them pop. It is satisfying. But there are thousands more. Some men pick the lice off by hand. This is a social activity. Men sit together, going through each other's uniforms, picking off lice, and crushing them between their thumbnails. Click, click, click. The sound of lice dying. It is disgusting. It is medieval. It is necessary. You spend hours doing this. Pick a louse. Crush it. Blood squirts. Your blood that it sucked out of you. Pick another. Crush it. Again and again. You never win. For every one you kill, 10 more are breeding in the seams you can't reach. The lice carry disease. Trench fever. Typhus. Other infections. Men die from lice-borne disease. Not from bullets or shells. From insects you can't even see properly. Trench fever makes you feel like you are dying. High fever. Severe pain. Weakness. It lasts for days or weeks. Some men are sent to the hospital. Most just suffer through it in the trench, because there is no room in the hospitals. You can always tell who has trench fever. They're shaking, sweating, delirious. But they're still standing in the water, rifle in hand, because orders are orders. The lice are worse in winter. They burrow deeper into your uniform for warmth. More layers means more places to hide. You are wearing your tunic, your undershirt, your vest, your greatcoat. That is 4 layers of fabric, 4 layers of lice habitat. And you can't wash. There is no bath, no shower, no clean water. You've been wearing the same uniform for weeks, the same underwear for weeks. Everything is crusted with mud and blood and sweat and lice. The smell of your own body becomes alien to you. You reek. Everyone reeks. It is a smell beyond normal body odor. It is the smell of rot and infection and insects and filth. Sometimes you get relieved to a rest area. There is a bath, real water, soap. You strip off your uniform, and the lice scatter, thousands of them, fleeing the fabric. You step into the water. It is cold, but it is clean. You scrub yourself for the first time in weeks. The water turns brown, then black. You are removing layers of dirt you didn't know were there. You scrub your hair. Lice fall out. Dead ones, live ones, eggs. You keep scrubbing until the water runs clear. It never runs completely clear. They give you a clean uniform, new socks, new underwear. You feel human again for about 6 hours. Then you go back to the trenches, and within a day you are infested again. Because the trenches are infested. The dugouts are infested. The blankets are infested. Everything is infested. The lice win. They always win. And then there is the latrine situation, which is somehow worse than everything else combined. Let's talk about where you shit when you are living in a trench. The official answer is the latrine, a designated area, usually a pit or a bucket, where waste is supposed to go. The reality is more complicated and infinitely more disgusting. The latrine is a hole in the ground. Sometimes it is a proper pit, dug deep, with a plank to sit on. More often, it is just a shell hole filled with liquid waste and decomposing matter. It is located at the end of the trench, or in a separate pit, accessible by a short communication trench. You have to leave your position to use it, which means exposing yourself to snipers. Men die going to the bathroom, literally, shot while squatting over a latrine pit. That is how you die. Not in battle, not defending your country, shitting. The smell is apocalyptic, worse than the corpses, worse than the gas, worse than anything. It is the smell of thousands of men's waste, baking in the sun or freezing in the winter, never properly disposed of. You can smell the latrine from 100 yards away. When the wind shifts, the entire trench smells like it. You eat your meals while breathing in the smell of human waste. Everything tastes like it. Going to the latrine at night is a special nightmare. You can't see. You are walking on duckboards that might be missing. The latrine itself is just a dark hole. You might fall in. Men have fallen in. Imagine falling into a pit of human waste in the dark, in the cold, with no way to get clean. You'd smell like that for weeks. Your uniform would be ruined. Your skin would be infected, and everyone would avoid you, which in the trenches is the closest thing to mercy you can get. The latrine is also where the rats congregate, because of course they do. They're eating things you don't want to think about. They're swimming in it. And then they're running back into the trenches and climbing on your food. Dysentery is rampant. Everyone has it, to some degree. The constant diarrhea, the cramps, the dehydration. You are already standing in water, already cold, already weak. Dysentery makes it worse. You are trying to sleep, standing up, and your bowels cramp. You need to go. Now, but the latrine is 50 yards away, and you can barely walk. You clench. You wait. The pain gets worse. You shuffle to the latrine. You are not alone. There are always men there, day and night, suffering from the same thing. Squatting over the pit, groaning, trying not to fall in. Sometimes you don't make it. You shit yourself. Right there in the trench, there is no privacy. Everyone sees. Everyone knows. No one says anything because it has happened to all of them. You stand in the water, in your soiled uniform, because there is no changing, no washing. You just stand there, in your own waste, until you rotate out. If you rotate out, the officers have it slightly better. They have private latrines. Buckets usually emptied by enlisted men. But the smell is the same. The dysentery is the same. The indignity is the same. Some sections of trench don't even have latrines. The pit filled in, or collapsed, or was destroyed by shelling. Men just go wherever they can. The trench itself becomes the toilet. You are standing in water, mixed with human waste. This is why the infections spread. This is why men die from disease at rates comparable to combat deaths. Because you are living in an open sewer. And in the summer, it is worse. The heat accelerates decomposition. The smell intensifies. Flies appear. Millions of flies. They're on everything. On your food. On your face. On the corpses. On the waste. Then back on your food. You are eating flies. You are breathing flies. You can't avoid them. They lay eggs in the latrine. The eggs hatch into maggots. The maggots fall into the trench water. You are standing in water with maggots. Some men stop eating. Not because there is no food. Because the flies have contaminated everything. Because watching flies crawl on your biscuit makes you gag. But you have to eat. So you brush off the flies and eat anyway. Winter brings different problems. The waste freezes. You'd think this would be better. It is not. Frozen waste doesn't smell less. It just smells different. And when you need to go, you are squatting over a frozen pile, trying not to slip. And then there are the gas attacks that nobody prepares you for. You've heard about gas. You've been trained. You have a gas mask. You think you are ready. You are not ready. The first gas attack you experience is chlorine. You don't see it coming. 1 minute you are standing in the trench. The next minute someone's shouting, "Gas, gas." You scramble for your mask. It is in a bag on your chest. Your hands are shaking. You pull it out. It is a rubber and canvas contraption that fits over your head. You have 15 seconds to get it on before the gas reaches you. You get it on, barely. The straps are tangled. The eyepieces are fogged. You can't breathe properly through the filter. But you are alive. The gas rolls in. Chlorine is yellow-green. It is heavier than air, so it sinks into the trench. It flows like liquid, pooling in the low spots, filling the trench from the bottom up. You watch it rise, past your boots, past your knees. It is up to your waist now. If you fall, you are dead. The gas smells like bleach. Even through the mask, you can smell it. Sweet and chemical and wrong. Your eyes water. Your nose runs. Your throat burns. You are supposed to stay calm. Keep breathing slowly through the mask. Don't panic. But panic is the only reasonable response, because the gas is everywhere, and you can't escape. Men who didn't get their masks on in time are dying. You watch them. They're coughing, choking, drowning in their own lungs as the chlorine reacts with the moisture in their respiratory system and creates hydrochloric acid. Their faces turn blue. They're clawing at their throats, making sounds no human should make. Gasping, wheezing, dying. The gas lasts for minutes, long minutes. You stand there, breathing through the mask, watching men die, waiting for your mask to fail. Because the masks do fail, the filters get saturated. The seals break. 1 breath of gas is all it takes. When it finally clears, you remove your mask. Your face is wet. Sweat, tears, mucus. You are alive. Some men aren't. The dead are everywhere. Twisted, blue. Their eyes are open. Their mouths are open. They died trying to breathe. You help carry them to the back of the trench. They'll be buried later. Maybe. If there is time. If there is space. more likely they'll be stacked until the next attack, when there are more bodies, and it becomes worth the effort. Chlorine is bad. Mustard gas is worse. Mustard gas doesn't kill you immediately. It would be kinder if it did. Mustard gas is oily. It sticks to everything: your uniform, your skin, the trench walls. It doesn't dissipate quickly. It lingers for days in the mud. You don't always know you've been exposed. There is no immediate pain, no choking. You might not even put on your mask because it doesn't look dangerous. Then, hours later, the burns start. Your skin blisters anywhere the gas touched. Your hands, your face, your neck. The blisters are large, painful, filled with fluid. They burst. The raw skin underneath gets infected. Your eyes burn. You are blind. Temporarily, if you are lucky. Permanently, if you are not. You can't see, can't fight, can't function. You are useless. Your lungs blister too. Internal burns you can't see. You cough up chunks of your lung tissue. You struggle to breathe. Every breath is agony. Mustard gas victims don't die quickly. They die slowly, over days or weeks. In hospital beds, blind and burned, and drowning in their own lung fluid. You've seen them, the mustard gas cases, wrapped in bandages, blind, moaning. They smell like garlic and death. The nurses can barely look at them. Some of them beg to die. The morphine helps, sometimes. But there is not enough morphine for everyone, and dying from mustard gas takes a long time. Phosgene is different. It is invisible, odorless. You don't know you've breathed it until it is too late. It kills by filling your lungs with fluid. You drown, on dry land, standing up. Coughing up pink, frothy fluid. The worst part about phosgene is the delay. You breathe it. You feel fine. You think you are okay. Then 12 hours later, your lungs start to fill. By then, there is nothing anyone can do. Men have died in the hospital, resting, thinking they survived a gas attack. And then they drown, in bed, surrounded by nurses who can only watch. The gas masks help. Sometimes, if you get them on in time, if the filter isn't saturated, if the seal is good, if you are lucky. But luck runs out in the trenches. You've seen men die because their mask had a tear they didn't know about, because the straps broke, because they panicked and ripped it off, because they were sleeping when the gas came. And after a gas attack, the fear never leaves. Every time the wind shifts, you reach for your mask. Every strange smell makes you panic. You sleep with your mask next to your face, ready to put on in seconds, but you can't sleep with it on. You can't eat with it on. You can't live with it on. So you are always vulnerable. Always one gas cloud away from drowning or burning or blinding. The gas doesn't discriminate. It kills officers and enlisted men equally. It kills the brave and the cowardly. It kills medics wearing red crosses. It kills chaplains praying. It kills everyone. And the worst part is, it is legal. Both sides use it. Both sides agree. It is horrible. But both sides keep using it because stopping would mean giving up an advantage. So the gas keeps coming. And men keep dying, choking, burning, drowning on dry land. Winter in the trenches is a different circle of hell. You thought standing in water was bad in autumn. In winter, the water freezes, or partially freezes. You are standing in a slush of ice, mud and filth. Your feet go numb, not the gradual numbness of trench foot, the immediate numbness of frostbite. Your toes are freezing. Literally, the tissue is dying from cold. Trench foot in winter becomes frostbite. Same result, different cause. Your feet turn black. They have to be amputated. You are crippled. But at least you are going home. The cold is so intense you can't think, can't function. Your body is shutting down, conserving heat for your vital organs, abandoning your extremities. Your hands don't work. You can't operate your rifle, can't pull the trigger, can't reload. If the Germans attacked right now, you couldn't defend yourself. Some men freeze to death. Just standing there, they stop shivering, which means their body has given up trying to stay warm. They slump against the trench wall. They close their eyes. They don't wake up. You find them in the morning frozen solid. Their skin is grey. Their eyes are open, ice crystals in their beards. They died standing up, on watch, doing their duty. The winter wind cuts through your uniform like it is not there. You are wearing every layer you have. Tunic, greatcoat, scarf, gloves. You are still freezing. Sleep is impossible. You are too cold to sleep. If you sleep, you might not wake up. Your body temperature drops. You slip into hypothermia. You die quietly. So you stay awake. For days. The cold. The exhaustion. You are hallucinating. Seeing things that aren't there. Hearing voices. Some men start talking to themselves, to people who aren't there, to dead friends. The other soldiers leave them alone. Everyone's a little crazy in winter. The water in the bottom of the trench freezes into ridges and lumps. Walking is treacherous. You slip. Fall. Can't get up because your hands don't work. The duckboards are coated in ice. Invisible ice. You step on one, your foot slides. You fall sideways into the trench wall. If you are lucky, you just bruise. If you are unlucky, you break something. Broken bones in winter are a death sentence. You can't be evacuated because the mud is frozen solid and the stretcher bearers can't navigate. So you stay in the trench, broken bone grinding, until you either heal or die from infection. Hot food is supposed to come up. Tea, stew, something warm, but by the time it reaches the front line it is frozen. The tea is ice. The stew is solid. You can't eat it. You try to thaw it over a candle, but there aren't enough candles. So you eat it frozen, chewing on chunks of frozen meat and vegetable. It doesn't warm you. It makes you colder. But it is calories, and calories keep you alive. The rum ration in winter is essential. It is the only warmth you get. A small cup of rum, harsh and burning. It doesn't actually warm you, but it makes you feel warm for a few minutes. Then the cold comes back, worse than before. Some men save their rum ration. Trade it. 2 rations gets you an extra blanket. 3 rations gets you a dry pair of socks. The black market in the trenches runs on rum and cigarettes. Night in winter lasts forever. 16 hours of darkness. 16 hours of standing in the cold and the dark, waiting for dawn. The stars are clear, beautiful. You can see constellations you've never seen before. It is the only beautiful thing about winter in the trenches. That and the fact that the corpses freeze, so they smell less. But the cold also means the corpses don't decompose. They stay there, frozen in whatever position they died. You are surrounded by frozen dead men, standing guard with you. Silent sentries that used to be human. In summer, everything is inverted. The heat is crushing. You thought you wanted to be warm. You were wrong. The sun beats down on the trenches. There is no shade. The metal parts of your rifle are too hot to touch. The sandbags radiate heat like ovens. You are sweating through your uniform, losing water faster than you can replace it. Dehydration is killing you slowly. The water they bring up is warm, sometimes hot. It tastes like the barrel it came in. It might make you sick, but you drink it anyway because not drinking means dying faster. Heat stroke is common. Men collapse. Their skin is red. They're not sweating anymore, which is a bad sign. Their body has run out of water. They're cooking from the inside. They die if they're not cooled down. But there is no ice, no cold water. You pour warm water on them and hope. Sometimes they recover. Usually they die. The flies in summer are unbearable. We talked about them before, but you need to understand the sheer number. Millions. Literally millions. They're a black cloud over the trenches. They're on your face, in your ears, trying to get in your mouth and nose. You breathe in flies. You swallow flies. There is no avoiding them. They lay eggs in any wound. A small cut becomes a maggot infestation in hours. You have to clean wounds constantly, picking out maggots, knowing more will appear. Some doctors say the maggots are helpful. They eat dead tissue, clean the wound. This is true. It is also disgusting. Having living insects eating your flesh is not natural. The heat makes the gas worse. Mustard gas is more effective in heat. It vaporizes faster, spreads farther. The burns are worse. Summer also means thunderstorms. When it rains in summer, it is violent. Flash floods. The trenches fill with water in minutes. Men drown. Literally drown in the trenches during storms. You watch the water rise. Knee deep, waist deep, chest deep. You are trying to climb the walls, but they're collapsing. Mud and water are pouring in. Some men make it out. Some don't. When the water recedes, you find bodies at the bottom, drowned in a trench, killed by rain. The heat also means disease spreads faster. Cholera, typhoid. Dysentery gets worse. Men are shitting themselves constantly. The smell is unbearable. The infections are everywhere. You preferred winter. At least in winter, You were too cold to smell properly. Let's talk about the sounds, because the trenches aren't just a visual nightmare. They're an audio hell. There is never silence. Never. Something is always making noise. During the day, it is the artillery. Constant. Never ending. Shells screaming overhead. Both directions. British shells going towards the Germans. German shells coming towards you. The whistle as they pass. The explosion when they land. You learn to tell the difference. British shells have a different sound than German shells. You can hear them coming and know if they're yours or theirs. If they're theirs, you have about 3 seconds to react. To drop, to pray. But sometimes you can't tell. Sometimes the shell is falling too fast. Sometimes you are too tired to care. You just stand there and hope it lands somewhere else. The sound of artillery is physical. It doesn't just hit your ears. It hits your chest. Your organs vibrate. Your skull resonates. After a few days, you have a constant headache. After a few weeks, you are partially deaf. After a few months, the ringing in your ears never stops. Some men go completely deaf. The constant explosions rupture their eardrums. They can't hear orders, can't hear warnings, can't hear the gas alarm. They die because they couldn't hear. Then there is the machine guns. The German MG-08. It fires at 450 rounds per minute. It sounds like cloth tearing. A rapid, rhythmic, tearing sound that means men are dying. When you hear it, you freeze, because that sound means the bullets are going somewhere, and you don't want to be in that somewhere. The British machine guns sound different, slightly slower. You learn to distinguish them instantly. Your machine gun relatively safe. Their machine gun duck. Rifles crack, single shots. You hear them constantly. Snipers, sentries. Random shots from nervous soldiers. Each crack might kill someone. Each crack makes everyone flinch. After a while, you stop flinching. Not because you are brave, because your nervous system is broken. You've heard too many gunshots to react anymore. At night, the sounds are worse. Everything is amplified by darkness and fear. You hear the rats everywhere, squeaking, fighting, eating, the sound of thousands of tiny feet on wood and mud. You hear men in other trenches, talking, crying, screaming, dying. Sound carries at night. You hear a man get hit 2 trenches over. You hear him scream. You hear him die. This happens every night. You hear the Germans. They're 100 yards away. You hear them talking. Sometimes singing. Sometimes you hear their laughter, which is disturbing, because it reminds you they're human too. Sometimes you hear both sides singing, different songs in different languages. It is almost beautiful until you remember that in the morning, you'll be trying to kill each other. You hear the wounded in no man's land. This is the worst sound in the trenches. After an attack, wounded men are left in shell holes. They can't move, can't crawl back. They lie there, calling for help, screaming, begging. This goes on for hours, sometimes days. You can hear them dying slowly, calling for their mothers, praying, begging for water, begging for death. You can't help them. Going into no man's land during the day is suicide. Going at night is risky, and there are too many wounded. You can't save them all, so you listen to them die, one by one, their voices getting weaker until they stop. Some men can't handle it. They try to go out and help. They get shot. Now there is one more voice, screaming in the dark. The worst is when you recognize the voice, when it is someone from your section, your friend, and you can't help him. You just listen to him die. This breaks men faster than anything else. The sound of friends dying within earshot, while you do nothing. Some soldiers snap. They start shooting at the sounds, wasting ammunition on dying men to make them shut up. Officers have to stop them, confiscate their ammunition. Others put their hands over their ears and rock back and forth, humming to themselves, trying to drown out the sounds of death. You learn to ignore it, or you try to. But those sounds live in your head forever. You'll hear them when you are 80 years old. Screaming in no man's land, calling for help that never came. Then there are the working parties, special assignments that are somehow worse than just standing in the trench. Every night, men are selected for working parties. These are groups sent out to repair barbed wire, carry supplies, bury the dead, or dig new trenches. You pray you are not selected. You are always selected. Tonight's assignment, carrying supplies from the rear trenches to the front line. This means walking through the communication, trenches for hours, carrying heavy loads in the dark, while being randomly shelled. You are given a box of ammunition. It weighs 60 pounds. You have to carry it a quarter mile through narrow, muddy trenches, without dropping it, without slipping. The communication trench is barely wide enough for one person. When you encounter someone coming the other way, you have to squeeze past. This means pressing against the mud walls, the same walls that are contaminated with gas residue. You are sweating. The box is getting heavier. Your back is screaming. Your feet are sliding in the mud. A shell lands nearby, not close enough to kill you, but close enough to shower you with mud. The box slips. You catch it. Keep walking. You pass other working parties, men carrying duckboards, men carrying sandbags, men carrying stretchers with wounded or dead. Everyone is miserable. No one speaks. You reach the front line, drop off the ammunition. You are done. Time to go back and get another box. You make this trip 6 times tonight. 6 trips. Hours of walking through mud, carrying weight, being shelled. By the time you are done, it is almost dawn. Time for stand. Tow. No sleep. Just more standing. Some working parties have worse jobs. Barbed wire repair parties. This means going into no man's land at night with rolls of wire and stakes. You have to unroll the wire, hammer in the stakes, and create obstacles, all while being shot at. You work in absolute silence, no talking, no lights. Any noise attracts machine gun fire. You are crawling through mud, dragging wire. The wire has barbs. It cuts your hands, your uniform, your face. You are bleeding. You keep working. A flare goes up, German flare. The entire area lights up like day. You freeze. Don't move. Don't breathe. The flare floats down slowly, casting shadows, making everything visible. If they see you, you are dead. Machine gun fire will cut you down in seconds. The flare burns out. Darkness returns. You keep working. You finish one section of wire. Move to the next. Another flare. Another freeze. This happens all night. By dawn, you've installed 20 yards of wire. You crawl back to the trench. Your hands are shredded. Your uniform is torn. You are exhausted. Your reward? Stand. 2 hours, standing at attention. Then a full day in the trench. The worst working party is the burial detail. After a battle, someone has to collect the dead. You've been selected. You are given gloves, thin cotton gloves that won't protect you from anything. You are told to collect all British dead from the trench, and no man's land close to the trench. The bodies have been there for days. They're bloated, decomposing, crawling with maggots and rats. You approach the first one. He is face down in the water. You grab his arm to flip him over. The arm comes off in your hand. Just comes off. The flesh is so decomposed it separates from the bone. You drop it, vomit. The sergeant yells at you. Pick it up. It is still part of the body. It needs to be buried with the rest. You pick it up. Put it with the body. Grab the body by the uniform. Drag it to the collection point. The body is heavy, waterlogged. It is leaving a trail of fluid. You try not to think about what the fluid is. 13 more bodies to collect. The next one has no head. Just gone. You don't know where the head is. Probably blown apart. You collect the body anyway. Another one is in pieces. Legs in one place. Torso in another. Arms scattered. You collect all the pieces. Put them together. Hope they're all from the same person. Some bodies are burned. Gas and fire. The flesh is black. Crispy. It flakes off when you touch it. Some are just bones and uniform. The flesh completely rotted away. Eaten by rats. These are the easy ones. Less weight. Less smell. You collect them all. Pile them at the collection point. Someone will bury them later. Probably in a mass grave. Probably without markers. You know, some of these men. You recognize their faces. Or what is left of their faces. You ate breakfast with them. Talked about home. Now they're corpses you are throwing on a pile. This is what breaks men. Not the danger. Not the discomfort. The casual brutality of handling dead friends like garbage. After your burial detail, you can't eat for days. Can't sleep. Can't function. But you are still on duty. Still standing in the trench. Still waiting for your turn to be collected. Mail arrives once a week, if you are lucky. Letters from home. From a world that doesn't understand. You get a letter from your mother. She is asking how you are. if you are eating well, if you are staying safe. You read it, standing in water. Your feet are rotting. You are covered in lice. You haven't been clean in weeks. You watched a friend die yesterday. You can't tell her any of this. Censors read the letters. Even if they didn't, what would you say? The truth would destroy her. So you lie. You write back that you are fine. The food is good. You are safe. You are not scared. You'll be home soon. Every sentence is a lie, but they're kind lies. Necessary lies. Some letters are from girlfriends. Sweethearts back home. They write about dances, about their jobs, about missing you, about wedding plans. You read these letters and can't connect to them. That world seems fictional. The idea of dances and weddings and normal life seems impossible. You try to remember what it was like to be that person, the person who cared about dances. You can't. He is dead. You are what is left. Some men get Dear John letters. Their girlfriends have found someone else. Someone who is not at the front. Someone whole. These men take it hard. Some cry. Some tear up the letter and throw it in the mud. Some stop caring about living. A man who gets a Dear John letter is dangerous. He has nothing to go home to, nothing to survive for. He might do something stupid, take unnecessary risks, get himself killed, get others killed. The sergeant watches these men carefully, tries to keep them away from the firing step, tries to keep them busy. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you find them in the morning. Self-inflicted gunshot wound. Suicide, disguised as an accident. Then there are the letters that don't arrive. Letters to men who are already dead. They pile up. Eventually someone writes deceased on the envelope and sends them back. Somewhere, a family will receive that letter, returned, unopened. And they'll know their son, brother, husband is dead before the official telegram arrives. You try not to think about your own family getting that letter. Try not to imagine your mother opening it, seeing deceased in an impersonal hand. So you keep writing, keep lying, keep pretending you are fine and you are coming home. Religion becomes complicated in the trenches. There are chaplains, priests, ministers, rabbis. They come to the front line, hold services, pray with the men. Some men find comfort in this. They pray. They believe God is watching over them, that there is a purpose to the suffering. Other men lose their faith entirely. They look around at the death, the mud, the rats, the gas, and conclude there is no God. Or if there is, he has abandoned them. You are somewhere in the middle. You are not sure what you believe anymore. The chaplain holds a service. He talks about courage and sacrifice and God's plan. The men listen respectfully. Some of them will be dead in a week. What is God's plan for them? After the service, the chaplain walks through the trench, talking to men individually. He is a good man, genuinely cares, but he doesn't understand. He doesn't live in the trench. He visits and then goes back to a relatively safe dugout. He asks if you want to pray. You decline. Not because you don't believe, but because you are too tired to care. Prayer requires energy you don't have. Some men pray constantly, before every meal, before every shift. They're bargaining with God, promising to be better if they survive, making deals. You wonder if God honors those deals, or if he is too busy with the millions of other soldiers making the same promises. The worst is when the chaplain performs last rites. When a man is dying, and the chaplain is called to give him peace. You watch the chaplain kneel in the mud next to a dying soldier. The soldier is gut, shot. He is going to die. The chaplain knows it. The soldier knows it. The chaplain prays, makes the sign of the cross, promises that God is waiting, that there is peace ahead. The soldier dies. The chaplain moves to the next one. 3 men die during that shift. The chaplain prays over all of them. His uniform is soaked with blood and mud. He looks exhausted, hollowed out. You wonder how he keeps faith, how he sees this much death and still believes in a loving God. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he is pretending, just like everyone else, putting on a show because people need it. Or maybe he has a strength you don't have, a belief that can withstand the trenches. You are not sure which would be worse. The trenches change friendships, make them intense and brief. You meet someone, you don't exchange names at first. Why bother? He might be dead tomorrow. You both might. But he is in the same section. You stand guard together, share cigarettes, complain about the food. After a week, you know his name, where he is from. what he did before the war. After 2 weeks, you trust him with your life. You die for him, he'd die for you. This is trench friendship. Intense, immediate, absolute. You share everything. Food, cigarettes, rum ration, space on the fire step, lice-picking duties. You have jokes only he understands, stories only he appreciates. In the misery of the trenches, he is the one thing that makes it bearable. Then he dies. A random shell. He was standing right next to you. 1 second, he is there. The next he is not. Just gone. Vaporized. You don't even have a body to bury. Nothing left. Just a pink mist and some scraps of uniform. You are covered in his blood, his tissue. Parts of him are on your uniform, in your hair. You can taste him. You don't cry. Can't cry. You are too shocked, too numb. They assign someone new to his spot. A replacement. You don't learn his name. What is the point? He'll probably die too. This happens again and again. You make friends. They die. You make new friends. They die. Eventually, you stop making friends. You learn to be distant, polite, helpful, but not close. Because close friends leave close wounds when they die. Some men never learn this. They keep making friends. Keep losing them. Keep grieving. These men break. Shell shock. Crying jags. Suicides. The smart ones, the survivors, they stay distant. They help each other, work together, but they don't care. Can't care. You've become one of them. When a new man arrives, you show him the basics. Where to stand, when to duck, how to avoid the worst of the water. But you don't learn his name. He might ask. Try to be friendly. You grunt. Give short answers. He'll learn. Or he'll die before he learns. Either way, you are protected. Your heart can't break if it is already empty. This is what the trenches do to humanity. They don't just kill your body. They kill your ability to love, to connect, to care about anyone except yourself. Shell shock is everywhere. The official term is neurasthenia. The soldiers call it being mad. You call it inevitable. You've seen it progress. A man starts normal, functional. Then he starts jumping at loud noises, flinching at everything. Then he stops sleeping. Can't sleep. Every time he closes his eyes, he sees death, hears screams, feels shells exploding. Then the shaking starts. Hands first, then arms, then whole body. He can't stop, can't control it. His nervous system is broken. Then he stops being able to speak. He tries. His mouth moves. No sound comes out. Or the sound that comes out is a stammer, so severe, you can't understand him. Then he breaks completely, crying, screaming, attacking invisible enemies, trying to run away, trying to dig into the trench wall to hide from the shells. The medics take him away, stretcher him to the rear. He is done. Whether he recovers or not, he is done fighting. Some men fake shell shock to escape. They pretend to shake, pretend they can't speak. The officers know. They can tell the difference between real shell shock and fake. The real cases, their eyes are empty, dead. They're not present anymore. Their body is there, but they're gone, lost somewhere inside themselves. The fake cases, their eyes are still present, still calculating, still aware. The real cases get sent to hospitals, maybe. If there is room, the fake cases get punished, field punishment, or shot for cowardice, if they're particularly unlucky. But most men don't fake it. Most men would rather die than admit they're broken. Pride, shame, fear of being labelled a coward. So they stay in the trench, shaking, crying, unable to function, until they either break completely or get killed. You felt it starting in yourself. The jumping at noises, the inability to sleep, the constant fear. You fight it, push it down, ignore it. Tell yourself, you are fine. Everyone does this. Everyone's on the edge. You just have to hold on a little longer. But you are not sure how much longer you have. Everyone breaks eventually. It is just a matter of time. November 1918. The end finally comes. The rumours have been circulating for weeks. Germany is collapsing. The war might end. Peace is coming. You don't believe it. You've heard rumours before. The war was supposed to be over by Christmas. That was 4 Christmases ago. But this time, the rumours persist, grow stronger. Officers are talking. Something is happening. The 11th of November, 11 a.m. You receive the order. Ceasefire. The war is over. You don't celebrate. You don't cheer. You just stand there, in the water, in the mud, covered in lice, unable to process what you've heard. Over? How can it be over? You've been here so long, lost so many friends, suffered so much, and now it is just over. Some men are crying, some are laughing, some are silent, like you. The guns stop, all at once. 11 a.m. The artillery stops firing. The machine guns stop chattering. The rifles stop cracking. Silence. Real silence. You've forgotten what silence sounds like. The absence of gunfire is deafening. For the first time in years, you don't hear death. Don't hear explosions. Don't hear screaming. It is eerie, wrong, somehow. You keep waiting for the shelling to start again, for the trick to be revealed, but the silence continues. 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 hours. The war is really over. You don't know what to feel. Relief, joy, anger, grief. All of it, none of it. You are too tired to feel anything. That night, you sleep. Real sleep. For the first time in years, you don't have to stand guard. Don't have to worry about raids. Don't have to listen for gas alarms. You sleep for 12 hours straight. When you wake up, the war is still over. It wasn't a dream. Over the next few days, you emerge from the trenches. Walk to the rear. See the world above ground. It is strange, being above ground, walking on roads instead of duckboards, sleeping in a bed instead of standing in water. You are processed, given a medical exam. The doctor looks at your feet, writes something on a chart, looks at you with pity. You are sent to a camp to wait for transport home. It takes weeks. The army that mobilized millions in days takes months to demobilize. You wait, eat regular food, sleep in a bed, try to remember how to be human. Other soldiers are celebrating, drinking, laughing, planning their return home. You can't join them. You sit alone, silent, trying to understand that you survived. So many didn't, your friends, the men you served with, the new recruits who died in their first week, the veterans who made it years only to die in the last month. You survived. Why? Luck, God, randomness. There is no answer. You survived because you did. Others died because they did. There is no reason, no justice, just chance. Finally, the ship home. You board with thousands of other men. The ship is crowded, loud. Everyone talking about what they'll do when they get home. You stand at the rail, watch the coast of France disappear. You'll never come back, never want to see this place again. But you know you are wrong. Part of you is still there, standing in the trenches. Feet rotting, rats watching, waiting for the whistle. You arrive in England, crowds cheering, families reuniting, children waving flags. It is like a different world. Your family is there, your mother, crying, hugging you, saying she was so worried, thanking God you are home. You hug her back. Try to smile. Try to be the son she remembers. But you are not him. He died in the trenches. You are someone else. Someone hollow, someone broken. They take you home. Your old room is exactly as you left it, 4 years ago, when you were young and stupid and thought war was glory. The room feels tiny. The bed is soft. Too soft. You can't sleep in it. Too comfortable. Wrong. You sleep on the floor. Your mother doesn't understand. You can't explain. Dinner is strange. Too much food. Hot. Clean. Your family is talking, normal conversation, about neighbours, about news, about trivial things. You can't follow, can't engage. You are thinking about the men still buried in France, the friends who won't come home. Your father asks about the war. What was it like? You can't answer. What would you say? The truth, the rats, the rot, the gas, the sounds of men dying in no man's land. You say it was hard. This is inadequate. This is a lie. But it is all you can say. He nods, doesn't push. Maybe he knows. Maybe he can see it in your eyes. That night, you wake up screaming, dreaming about gas, about shells, about rats. Your mother comes running. Are you okay? What is wrong? You can't tell her. You say it was a bad dream. She hugs you, goes back to bed. This happens every night for months, for years. For the rest of your life, you try to find work. Jobs aren't plentiful. Millions of men returning, all looking for work. You find something, manual labor. It hurts your back. Your feet still hurt from the trench foot. You limp, but you work because what else is there? Your friends from before the war try to reconnect. Want to hear stories. Want to know what it was like. You avoid them. You can't talk about it. Can't explain. The gap between those who served and those who didn't is unbridgeable. The only people who understand are other veterans. You see them sometimes, in the street, in pubs. You recognize each other instantly. The eyes, the limp, the flinch at loud noises. Sometimes you nod to each other, sometimes you share a drink. You don't talk about the war. You don't need to. You both know. Years pass. The physical wounds heal. Your feet will always hurt, but you can walk. Your lungs are scarred from the gas, but you can breathe. Your hearing is damaged, but you can hear. The mental wounds don't heal. You still dream about the trenches, still hear the sounds, still smell the gas and the rot and the death. You still can't connect to people, can't love properly, can't feel properly. The trenches took that from you. You marry eventually, have children, live a normal life on the surface, but inside you are still there, standing in water, feet rotting, rats watching, waiting for the whistle that will never blow again. The trenches don't let you go. Even 70 years later, when you are old and dying, your last words are about the trenches, about the friends who died, about the mud and the rats and the water. This is what World War I did. It killed millions in the trenches, and it killed millions more slowly, over decades, through nightmares and shell shock and broken spirits. The trenches ended in 1918, but for the men who fought there, the trenches never ended. They carried them inside until the day they died. You wouldn't last a day in the trenches of World War I, but millions of men did, for years, standing in water. Feet rotting, rats everywhere, gas in the air, death all around. They endured hell. They survived when survival seemed impossible, and they came home broken, empty, haunted. We remember them, the lost generation. The men who went to war, boys, and came back ghosts. We remember the trenches, the worst place humans ever created to kill each other slowly. We remember, so it never happens again. But we forget the details, the rats, the rot, the lice, the sounds of men drowning on dry land, the smell of gas and death and decay. We forget what it was really like, the horror of it, the absolute hell of it. We say, never again. But 20 years later, there was another war, different trenches, different horrors, but the same suffering, the same death. Because humans forget, or we don't care, or we convince ourselves that this time will be different. It is never different. War is always hell, always suffering, always death. The trenches of World War I were just one form of that hell, the most visible, the most documented, the most photographed. But the suffering was the same as every war, before and since. Men standing in mud, dying for causes they don't understand, killed by weapons they can't see, suffering because old men decided they should. This is war. This is what it looks like when you strip away the glory and the propaganda and the lies. It is standing in water until your feet rot off. It is rats eating corpses next to you. It is gas that burns your lungs and blinds your eyes. It is the sounds of friends dying while you do nothing. It is hell on earth, created by humans, for humans, and we did it. We chose it. We sent millions of men into those trenches to die for a few yards of mud. Remember that when someone talks about the glory of war, the honor, the sacrifice. Remember the trenches. Remember the rats. Remember the gas. Remember the men who died standing in water, their feet rotting, waiting for death. Remember that this is what we do to each other, what we're capable of, what we've done and will do again. Remember the trenches of World War I, so we never forget what war really is. Not glory, not honor, not sacrifice. Hell, pure hell, created by us, for us. And the men who endured it, who survived it, who carried it inside them for the rest of their lives. They deserve to be remembered, not as heroes, not as warriors, but as human beings who suffered through the worst thing humans ever created and somehow came out the other side. Even if they never really left the trenches, even if they died there, slowly, over decades. Remember them, remember the trenches, Remember the truth, so it never happens again. That is the hope. Anyway, but history suggests otherwise. The differences between officers and enlisted men show even in hell. You are an enlisted man, a private, the lowest rank. You stand in the water with everyone else. The officers have dugouts, real dugouts, underground rooms with wooden walls, bunks, sometimes even furniture, carried from ruined houses. You have the trench wall. That is it. That is where you sleep, standing up, leaning against mud. The officers eat in their dugout. Hot food brought to them. Tea in actual cups. Sometimes wine. Sometimes luxuries you haven't seen in months. You eat standing in the water. Cold food. From a tin. If you are lucky. The officers have batman, personal servants, enlisted men assigned to care for them, to clean their uniforms, shine their boots, prepare their meals. You clean your own uniform, if you clean it at all, which you don't, because there is no point. The officers rotate to the rear more frequently. A week in the front line, a week in support, a week in reserve, a week in rest. You stay in the front line until you are wounded, dead, or so broken they have to remove you. This creates resentment. Obviously, you are standing in water, feet rotting, watching rats, while 50 yards behind you, officers are sleeping in bunks. But you can't say anything, can't complain. That is insubordination. That is punishment. Or court. Martial. So you stand there, and you hate, not the Germans, the officers. Some officers are good. They share the danger. Visit the front line regularly. Check on their men, genuinely care. These officers are respected, loved, even. Men will follow them anywhere. Other officers stay in the rear. Give orders from safety. Never see the front line except to inspect. These officers are despised. Men hope they die. Sometimes arrange it. Friendly fire isn't always an accident, but most officers are somewhere in between, trying to do their duty. Caught between keeping their men alive and following orders from above. They're just as trapped as you, just with better accommodations. The class divide is stark. Officers are usually upper class, educated, from families with money and connections. You are working class, a factory worker, a farmer, someone who had to work for a living before the war. And that divide persists in the trenches. The officers speak differently, carry themselves differently, expect to be obeyed without question. Some of them look at you like you are less than human, a tool, a resource to be expended. Others try to bridge the gap, learn your names, ask about your families, treat you like a person. Those are the ones who don't last, because caring about your men in the trenches is a path to madness. Every death becomes personal, every loss cuts deeper. The cold ones, the ones who see you as numbers, they survive longer. Their sanity survives longer. You are not sure which is worse. The snipers are a constant threat. Both sides have them. Elite shooters with specialized rifles and patience measured in hours. The German snipers are good. Very good. They've been trained specifically for trench warfare. They know every angle, every gap in the sandbags, every moment of carelessness. You learn quickly. Never stick your head above the parapet. Never stand in the same place twice. Never create a silhouette against the sky. But mistakes happen. Someone gets comfortable, stops paying attention, stands up to stretch. Crack. Wet thump. He is dead. The sniper might be 300 yards away. Might be closer. You'll never see him. Never know where he is. Some sections of trench have specific death zones. Places where the sniper has a perfect angle. Everyone knows not to stand there. But sometimes you forget. Or you are new and nobody told you. Stand there for 5 seconds. You are dead. The British snipers are improving. Learning fighting back. There are sniper duels. One British sniper, one German sniper, trying to kill each other over days or weeks. They set up false targets, mannequins, helmets on sticks, trying to get the other to reveal their position. They wait, hours, days, watching through their scopes, looking for movement, for the glint of a lens, for the tiny mistake that means death. When a sniper finally gets his target, there is professional respect. He killed a worthy opponent. Someone as skilled, as patient, as deadly as himself. Then he moves to the next target. Because there is always another target. You hate the snipers, both sides. because they make every moment dangerous. You can't relax even in your own trench. One moment of carelessness, 1 second of bad luck, dead. Some men become obsessed with the snipers, trying to spot them, trying to kill them. It is personal. The sniper killed their friend. Now they want revenge. This obsession usually ends with them being the sniper's next victim. You've learned to ignore it. The sniper is just another way to die, like the shells, like the gas, like the disease. Just add it to the list and keep your head down. Then there is the mining underneath the trenches. Another war is happening. Sappers, engineers. They're digging tunnels under no man's land, under the German trenches, placing explosives, trying to blow the enemy sky high. You can hear them sometimes at night when it is quiet. A faint scraping sound. Underground. Either your side tunneling toward the Germans, or the Germans tunneling toward you. If it is the Germans, you have a problem, because they're going to place a mine under your trench and detonate it. And you'll be blown apart without warning. The sappers fight underground. Literal underground warfare. They dig toward each other. When they meet, they fight with shovels, picks, whatever they have. Hand-to-hand combat in a tunnel 3 feet wide. In the dark, claustrophobic, terrifying. Or they blow each other up, detonate their charges when they detect enemy tunneling nearby. Collapse the enemy tunnel. Bury them alive. You've never been in the tunnels, don't want to be. At least in the trench you can see the sky. In the tunnels, it is just earth. Tons of earth above you, waiting to collapse. Some sappers go mad from the claustrophobia, from the darkness, from the constant fear of burial. They come up from the tunnels shaking, refusing to go back down. They're usually shot for cowardice. You can't refuse orders, even orders that terrify you. The big mines are terrifying for everyone. When they detonate a mine under enemy trenches, you feel it miles away. The ground shakes like an earthquake. A column of earth and bodies erupts into the sky, then crashes back down, leaving a crater 100 feet wide, and whatever men were in that section of trench are gone, vaporized, buried, destroyed so thoroughly there is nothing left to bury. You've seen the craters, walked past them. They fill with water, become poisonous pools. More obstacles in no man's land. Sometimes the craters have bodies in them, partially buried, sticking out of the mud at odd angles. You try not to look. The constant fear of mining adds another layer of stress. Every strange sound underground might be the enemy tunneling. Every vibration might be the warning before an explosion. You can't escape, can't leave. Just stand there and hope the mine isn't under you. The medical situation is medieval with modern weapons. When you are wounded, you have minutes to get treatment or you'll bleed out. But the aid station is in the rear. Getting there means being carried through communication trenches under fire. The stretcher bearers are heroes. They run toward danger while everyone else is running away. They carry wounded men, 60 pounds or more, through mud and shells and gas. Many of them die, shot while carrying someone, blown up by shells, gassed because they couldn't put on their mask while holding a stretcher. If you are wounded, you wait, lying in the trench, bleeding. The medic does what he can. Bandages, morphine if there is any, reassurance that you'll be fine. You might be fine, or you might die waiting for stretcher bearers, or die being carried, or die at the aid station because there are too many wounded and not enough doctors. The aid station is chaos. Dozens of wounded men, screaming, bleeding, dying. The doctors are working as fast as they can. Triage. Save who can be saved. Let the rest die. If your wound is minor, you are bandaged and sent back to the trench. No time to recover, no rest. Back to the line. If your wound is serious but survivable, you are sent to the casualty clearing station. Further back, safer, real doctors, real equipment. If your wound is too serious, you die at the aid station. They move you to the corner with the other dead. Make room for someone who might survive. The doctors don't have enough of anything. Enough bandages, enough morphine, enough time, enough space. Enough hands. They're performing surgery in tents, on tables that aren't clean, with instruments that aren't sterile, amputating limbs to save lives. The pile of amputated limbs grows throughout the day. Arms, legs, hands, feet, piled outside the surgical tent, waiting to be buried or burned. You can see it when you are waiting for treatment. The pile, You try not to think about whether your limb will join it. Infections kill more men than bullets, because everything is dirty. The wound, the bandage, the instruments, the hands of the doctor. Gangrene sets in. The wound turns black, smells like death. The only treatment is amputation. Cut off the infected part before it spreads. If it is already spread, you die, slowly, over days. In agony, the doctors give you morphine and move on to someone they can save. Some wounds are impossible. Gut shots, chest shots, head shots. The doctors know you are dead. They make you comfortable and wait. You lie there, knowing you are dying. Hours, sometimes days. Unable to do anything except wait for death. Some men beg for someone to end it, to shoot them, to give them enough morphine to stop their heart. Sometimes the doctors comply. Quietly, unofficially. Mercy. Sometimes they don't. Medical ethics, orders, fear of punishment. So the man suffers until he dies naturally. The field hospitals are full of men with missing limbs, missing faces, missing eyes, burned, blinded, broken. These are the survivors, the ones who made it off the battlefield, who got treatment, who didn't die of infection. They're going home, back to England, back to families, who won't recognize them, back to a world that doesn't know what to do with broken men. Some of them are grateful. They survived. They're alive. They'll never fight again. Others are destroyed. They've lost everything. Their body, their future, their hope. They wish they'd died in the trenches. Different sections of the front have different nightmares. The Somme, where you attack across open ground into machine gun fire, where you watch thousands die in the first hour, where the casualty lists are so long they fill newspapers. You were at the Somme, July 1916, the first day, the worst day in British military history. 20,000 dead in one day, 30,000 wounded. You went over the top at 7:30 a.m., walking pace, rifle at the ready. The machine guns opened up immediately. Men fell in rows, whole sections cut down. You stepped over bodies, kept walking. Those were the orders. You made it 50 yards before being hit. Your leg. You fell. Couldn't get up. Couldn't move. Just lay there in no man's land while the attack continued without you. You waited 12 hours for stretcher bearers. 12 hours lying in mud, bleeding, listening to the other wounded die around you. You survived. Many didn't. 60,000 British casualties in one day, for a few yards of mud that was lost the next week. Passchendaele, where the mud is worse than anywhere else, where men drown in shell holes filled with liquid mud. The artillery has destroyed the drainage, turned the battlefield into a swamp. The shell holes fill with water, bottomless. If you fall in, you drown, sink into the mud. Men have drowned trying to rescue others, reached out to help, got pulled in, both died, sucked down into the mud, never recovered. You know men who are still there, in the mud at Passchendaele. Bodies that couldn't be recovered, still there, preserved in the mud, will be there forever. Verdun, where the French held against German attacks for months, where the death toll is measured in hundreds of thousands, where the fighting was so intense, the earth itself died. You weren't at Verdun, but you've heard the stories from French soldiers, from German prisoners, about the fortresses, the endless artillery, the attack and counterattack, the same ground changing hands dozens of times, about how the bodies piled so high they formed walls, about how men went mad from the constant shelling, about how the survivors were changed forever. Every section of the front has its own horror, its own nightmare, but the suffering is the same. Mudblood, death, gas, rats, water, rot. The trenches are hell, no matter which specific section of hell you are in. Christmas 1914, the first Christmas of the war that was supposed to be over by Christmas. You weren't there, but you've heard the stories about the truce, about the men who stopped fighting and became human again for one day. On Christmas Eve, the Germans started singing Christmas carols. In German, from their trenches, the British started singing back, in English. Different words, same melodies, same hopes. Then someone climbed out of the trench, unarmed, walking into no man's land. He didn't get shot. Someone from the other side climbed out, met him in the middle. They shook hands. Then more men climbed out, from both sides, meeting in no man's land, trading cigarettes, chocolate, addresses, showing pictures of families. They buried the dead together, British and German bodies, side by side in the frozen ground, saying prayers in 2 languages. Some sections played football, soldiers versus soldiers, using a tin can as a ball, laughing, playing, forgetting for a moment they were enemies. It lasted 1 day, Christmas Day, then the orders came from above. Resume fighting. The truce is over. Some men refused. Couldn't shoot at men they'd shared Christmas with. They were relieved, sent to the rear, replaced with men who hadn't fraternized. The war continued. The killing resumed. The Christmas truce became a memory, a moment of humanity in 4 years of hell. It never happened again. The commanders made sure of it, ordered artillery bombardments on Christmas, prevented any chance of another truce. By the next Christmas, too many men had died. Too much hatred had built up. Too much suffering. Nobody wanted to fraternize with the people who killed their friends. But the story persists, passed down, told to new recruits, about the day the war stopped, the day men were men again, not soldiers. You wish you'd been there, wish you could have experienced that. 1 day without war, 1 day of peace. But you weren't there, and by the time you arrived, the war had hardened everyone, made them brutal, made them hate. There is no room for humanity in the trenches anymore. Just survival, just killing, just waiting to die. The rats have another horrible habit you haven't mentioned yet. They bite living men. At night, when you are trying to sleep, standing against the trench wall, the rats get bold. They're hungry. They're always hungry. They smell food. Even if you have none, you still smell like food to them. They investigate. You feel something on your boot, climbing. A rat. It is moving up your leg. You shake it off. It comes back. Sometimes they bite, testing if you are dead yet. A quick bite on your hand, your face, your ear. The bite gets infected. Everything gets infected. Now you have a rat bite wound. Swollen, red, oozing. The medic treats it if he has time, if he has supplies. If not, you just hope it doesn't turn into something worse. Some men wake up being bitten. Rat on their face. In their hair, they scream. Thrash, knock the rat off. But the damage is done. Bite mark on their cheek, or their neck, or their lip. These men are mocked gently, because being bitten by a rat is humiliating. But everyone knows it could happen to them. The rats also steal from the dead. They're smart enough to know that dead men have pockets. Sometimes those pockets have food. You've watched rats go through a corpse's pockets, pulling out letters, photographs, small items, looking for food, tossing aside anything that isn't edible. It is disturbing watching a rat desecrate a body, but you don't stop it. What is the point? The man is dead. He doesn't care, and the rat won't stop. Sometimes the rats eat so much from one corpse they can barely move. Too fat, too full. They just sit there, bloated next to the body. Easy target, you could kill it. But another will take its place. Always another rat. The worst rat story you've heard. A man died in his sleep. Heart attack. Natural causes. The rats found him before anyone else did. By the time his section mates realized he was dead, the rats had already started. His face, his hands, the soft parts. They had to bury him quickly, before the rats did more damage, before anyone saw what the rats had done. Nobody talks about it, but everyone knows. Die in the trenches, and the rats will eat you, even if you die peacefully, even if you die a hero. The rats don't care. They just eat. Your feet have gotten worse, despite your best efforts, despite changing socks when you can, despite trying to keep them dry. The rot has set in deep. You can smell it now, even over the ambient smell of the trench. A sweet, sick smell. The smell of dying tissue. You know what this means. You've seen it happen to others. You are going to lose parts of your feet. Toes at minimum, maybe more. But you can't report it, can't go to the medic, because then they'll send you to the hospital, and then they'll amputate. And then you'll be crippled. So you hide it. Keep your boots on. Try to ignore the pain. The wetness inside your boots that isn't water. The pieces that might be skin. Might be worse. You are gambling. Maybe it won't get bad enough. Maybe when you rotate to the rear, it'll heal. Maybe you'll get lucky. But luck ran out in the trenches years ago. You are going to lose your toes. Maybe your feet. You know this. But knowing and accepting are different things. So you keep standing. Keep fighting. Keep pretending your feet aren't rotting off. Until the day you can't anymore. Until you fall. Can't stand. Can't walk. can't pretend. Then they'll carry you to the medic, then they'll see. Then they'll know you should have reported it weeks ago. Then they'll amputate, or let you die of gangrene. Either way, your war is over. But not yet, not today. Today you can still stand, still fight, still suffer. So, you do. The things you miss from home become strange, specific, random. You don't miss big things, you miss small things. Weird things. Clean sheets. The feeling of sliding into a bed with clean sheets. Cool, smooth, fresh. Hot baths. Not the cold dunk in a trough. A real bath. Hot water. Steam. Soap that actually creates bubbles. Silence. Real silence. No shells. No machine guns. No rats. No men screaming. Just quiet. Toast. Warm bread with butter. Simple. Normal. Impossible. Here, your mother's voice. Not a letter. Her actual voice. Calling you for dinner. Asking how your day was. Saying she loves you. Dry feet. Just dry. No water. No mud. No rot. Just dry. A pillow. Your head on an actual pillow. Not leaning against mud. Not using your pack. A real pillow. These are the things you dream about. Not glory. Not victory. Not even survival. Just toast. And dry feet. And your mother's voice. That is all you want. That is what you are fighting for. In the end, not your country. Not freedom. Not any grand ideal. Just the small comforts of home. The normal things you took for granted. The things you'll probably never have again. Because even if you survive, even if you go home, even if you get toast and dry feet and clean sheets, you'll still be in the trenches, in your head, in your nightmares, in the part of you that died here and can't be brought back. The trenches take everything, the big things and the small things, your body, your mind, your soul, and they never give them back. You are standing in water, feet rotting, rats watching, gas lingering in the air. This is your life. This is everyone's life here. Day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, standing, waiting, dying, until the war ends, or until you end, whichever comes first. The final months of the war are strange. Everyone knows it is ending. The Germans are collapsing. The Americans have arrived. The Allies are advancing, but men are still dying. Every day, still standing in trenches, still going over the top, still being shot and shelled and gassed. Dying in October 1918 is the same as dying in 1914. You are just as dead. Your family grieves just as much. But somehow, it feels worse, because the end is coming, and you didn't make it. Some men become reckless. They've survived this long, survived years of hell. They're not going to die in the last months, so they take risks. Volunteer for patrols. Stand up when they should stay down. Some of them survive. Some don't. Turns out the bullets don't care how long you've been here. Other men become overly cautious. They've made it this far. They're going to survive. So they hide. Stay in the safest spots. Volunteer for nothing. Just try to outlast the war. The officers hate these men. Call them cowards. But they're just trying to survive. After years of hell, who can blame them? The influenza comes. Spanish flu. It kills more men than the war in some units. You survive the trenches, the gas, the shells, the rats. Then you die of the flu. Men are falling sick everywhere. Fever, coughing. Some recover. Many don't. The hospitals are overwhelmed again. Always. You get sick. Fever, chills, coughing. But you can't go to the hospital. Too many wounded need the beds. So you stay in the trench, sick, standing in water, trying not to die. You survive. Barely, weaker, thinner, but alive. The German prisoners look defeated. Hollow. They know they've lost. You see it in their eyes. The same hollow look you have. You talk to one, a German soldier. He speaks a little English. You speak a little German, enough to communicate. He is from Berlin. He has been fighting since 1914. Just like you. He is tired. Just like you. He wants to go home. Just like you. You realize he is you. Same suffering. Same trauma. Same desire for it to end. Different uniform. Same hell. You give him a cigarette. He gives you a piece of chocolate. A small moment of humanity in the final months of hell. October 1918. The attacks are working now. The Germans are retreating. You are advancing, taking trenches, capturing ground, but it doesn't feel like victory. It feels like walking through a graveyard. The trenches you capture are full of dead Germans. The ground you take is soaked in blood. You keep advancing, passing through towns, or what used to be towns. Now they're just ruins, rubble, no buildings, no people, nothing. This is what the war did. Destroyed everything, turned civilization into wasteland. You sleep in a ruined church, or what is left of it. No roof, no walls, just some foundations and rubble. It is the best shelter you've had in years. The Germans left supplies, food, real food, bread, cheese, sausage. You eat like you haven't eaten in years, because you haven't. November comes. The rumours intensify. Days now. Maybe hours. The war is ending. The 11th of November, morning, you are in a trench. A different trench. A captured German trench. It is the same as the British trenches. Water, mud, rats. Same hell, different side. 11 a.m. The order comes. Cease fire. The war is over. You've already covered this. The silence. The disbelief. The inability to process that 4 years of hell just ended. But there is more you haven't mentioned. The celebration is muted. Some men cheer. Most don't. They're too tired, too broken, too dead inside. You don't celebrate. You just sit down. For the first time in days, you sit in the water. You don't care anymore. The war is over. You can sit. Your feet scream in protest. You've been standing so long. Sitting feels wrong. But you do it anyway. Around you men are crying. Not from joy, from relief, from exhaustion, from the weight of surviving when so many didn't. Some men are silent, staring, processing. They've been waiting for this moment for years. Now that it is here, they don't know how to feel. A man near you starts laughing. Hysterical laughing. He can't stop. He laughs until he is crying, until he is gasping for air, until someone slaps him to make him stop. The first night of peace is strange. No shells, no machine guns, no gas alarms, no fear of attack, just silence and rats. The rats are still here. You try to sleep, real sleep, lying down, in the mud, but lying down. Your body doesn't know how. You've been standing for so long, sleeping, standing for so long. Lying down feels wrong. You eventually sleep, fitfully, waking every hour, expecting shells, expecting gas, expecting death. But there is only silence. The next day, you climb out of the trench, walk on top, in daylight, without being shot at. This is surreal. You've been in trenches for years, seen the world from trench level. Now you are standing on top, in no man's land. You look back at the trenches. From above, they're just scars. Lines cutting across the earth. Thin, fragile. Looking, you can't believe you lived in those. You look at no man's land. It is worse from up here. You can see the full extent of the destruction, the shell holes, the barbed wire, the bodies. So many bodies. They're everywhere. British, German, French. Years worth of bodies. Some fresh, some ancient, some just bones. Nobody buried them, nobody could. They died in no man's land and stayed there, rotting, becoming part of the landscape. You walk through no man's land carefully. There are unexploded shells everywhere, mines, booby traps. The ground is still deadly. Even though the war is over, you find a shell hole. It is full of water and bodies. 3 British soldiers. They've been there for months, maybe years, floating, rotting. Nobody's coming for them. There are too many bodies, too much ground to cover. These men will stay here, forever. You keep walking, to the German trenches. You've never seen them from this angle. From the angle you were supposed to attack from. Now you understand why so many men died. The German trenches have perfect lines of fire, machine gun positions overlooking every approach. Barbed wire perfectly placed. Attacking these trenches was suicide. You did it anyway, because those were the orders. You look at the German positions. Well built, deep dugouts, concrete reinforcements. They had it better than you did, but they still suffered. You can see it. The same mud, the same water, the same rats. Hell is hell, regardless of which side you are on. You return to your trench, climb down. It is strange. You can leave now. You can walk away. But you don't. Not yet, because where would you go? Home is a concept you can barely remember. The trench is all you know now. The days after the armistice blur together. You are waiting for transport home, waiting in the trenches. Because there is nowhere else to go. They start the cleanup, collecting bodies, clearing unexploded ordnance, filling in trenches, trying to erase the war. But you can't erase the trenches. They're too deep, too extensive. They've scarred the earth permanently. You help with the cleanup, collecting bodies again, like the burial details during the war. But more bodies. So many more. You become numb to it. Another body, another pile, another mass grave. It is just work now. Grim work, necessary work. You find men you knew, friends who died months ago, years ago, still here. Still here. You collect them. Try to give them some dignity. But there is no dignity in war. Not in life. Not in death. Just rot and mud and rats. 3 weeks after the armistice, you finally leave the trenches. For the last time, you walk away. Don't look back. You are done. It is over. But you know, it is not over. Not really. The trenches are inside you now. Permanent. Inescapable. You'll carry them for the rest of your life. The trenches of World War I killed more than bodies. They killed hope. They killed innocence. They killed the idea that war is glorious. Before the trenches, war was cavalry charges and bright uniforms and heroic deeds. After the trenches, war was mud and gas and rats and slow death. The men who survived the trenches came home changed, broken, unable to explain what they'd seen, unable to forget. They tried to reintegrate, to be normal, to live civilian lives. Some succeeded, most struggled. The nightmares never stopped, the sounds never left, the smell never faded. They were civilians in body only. In mind, they were still in the trenches. Some couldn't handle it. Suicide rates among veterans were horrifying. Men who survived years of combat killed themselves years later, at home, unable to escape the trenches in their heads. Others, self-medicated, alcohol, drugs, anything to numb the memories, to silence the sounds, to stop the nightmares. Many ended up homeless, broken, unable to work, unable to function, forgotten by a society that wanted to move on. The governments tried to help. Pensions, hospitals, support. But it wasn't enough. Nothing could be enough. How do you help a man who has seen hell, who has lived in it, who has become part of it? You can't. You can only watch as he slowly dies. Even if his body lives for decades, the man he was died in the trenches. The trenches of World War I were a unique horror. Modern weapons, medieval conditions, industrial scale killing, personal scale suffering. They've been replaced now. Replaced by new methods of war, new technologies, new nightmares. But the trenches remain in memory, in history books, in photographs, in the few remaining sections that have been preserved, and in the minds of descendants, children and grandchildren of men who fought, who carry the stories, who remember the trenches through their ancestors' trauma. The physical trenches have mostly been filled in, ploughed over, returned to farmland. You can barely tell they were there, but sometimes farmers still find things, unexploded shells, bullets, bones, reminders that the trenches are still there, just buried, waiting. And sometimes the trenches reappear. Heavy rain washes away soil, reveals the old lines, the old scars. The earth remembers, even if we forget. The trenches of World War I were supposed to be the war to end all wars. They weren't. 20 years later, it happened again. Different trenches, different battlefields, the same suffering, the same death, the same broken men. Because we didn't learn. We never learn. The trenches should have taught us that war is hell, that glory is a lie, that the cost is too high, that there are no winners, only survivors. And the survivors are just the dead who are still breathing. But we didn't learn. We sent another generation to die. And another. And another. The trenches of World War I stand as a monument, not to victory, not to heroism, but to human capacity for inflicting suffering, to our ability to create hell on earth, to send millions of men into that hell, to let them suffer and die for years, and then to do it again. The trenches are a warning, a reminder, a scar on history. But warnings go unheeded. Reminders are forgotten. Scars fade. And so the cycle continues. New wars, new trenches, new hells. Different details. Same suffering. The men who stood in the water of World War I trenches, who watched their feet rot, who lived with rats, who breathed gas, who listened to friends die. They're almost all gone now. The last veterans died years ago. Their voices are silent, but their story remains, in words, in photographs, in preserved trenches, in memorials, in the minds of those who refuse to forget. Because forgetting the trenches means repeating them, and we can't afford to repeat them. The cost is too high, the suffering too great, the waste too enormous. So we remember, we teach, we preserve, we tell the stories about the water, the rats, the mud, the gas, the death, the rot, the horror, about standing in a trench for years, waiting to die, losing your humanity, becoming a shell, about surviving when you wish you hadn't, about coming home to a world that doesn't understand and never will. This is the truth of the trenches. This is what war looks like when you strip away the lies. And this is why you wouldn't last a day in the trenches of World War I. Not because you are weak, but because the trenches were designed to break humans. And they did. Every single one who entered them was broken. Some died. Others just carried their broken pieces home. The trenches took everything, gave nothing back, except nightmares and scars. And the absolute certainty that war is hell. Remember that. Remember the trenches. Remember the men who stood in water until their feet rotted off, who lived with rats, who breathed gas, who watched friends die. Remember them, not as heroes, but as humans who suffered through the worst of humanity. And remember that we did this. We created the trenches. We sent men into them. We let them suffer and die. We did this, and we can do it again. Unless we remember, unless we learn, unless we say, never again, and mean it this time. The trenches of World War I ended over a century ago, but they never really ended. They live on, in memory, in trauma, in the genetic scars passed down generations. They live on in every veteran who can't sleep, who flinches at loud noises, who smells gas that isn't there, who sees rats in shadows. They live on in the cemeteries, rows and rows of white crosses, thousands, millions, men who died standing in water. They live on in the memorials, names carved in stone. So many names, too many names, names of men who became numbers. They live on in the photographs, black and white images of mud and death and hollow-eyed men, images that can't capture the smell, the sound, the feeling. But most of all, they live on in the stories passed down, written down, remembered, stories of suffering, of survival, of loss, stories that need to be told again and again to every generation, so we never forget what the trenches were, what war is, what humans can do to each other when we forget our humanity. This is one of those stories about standing in water, about rotting feet, about rats the size of cats, about mustard gas that lingers in the mud, about watching friends die, about surviving when death seems preferable. This is the story of the trenches, the real story. Not the sanitized version, not the heroic version, the true version. The version where you wouldn't last a day, where nobody could, but where millions of men lasted for years anyway, because they had no choice. Just like the men in every war before and since. No choice but to stand and suffer and hope they survive, and carry the scars forever if they do. This is the truth of the trenches. This is the truth of war. This is what we must remember, so we never forget, so we never repeat, so we never create another generation of men who stand in water until their feet rot off, who live with rats, who breathe gas, who die in mud. Remember the trenches. Remember the truth. Remember the cost. And maybe, just maybe, we'll finally learn. The trenches ended, but their lesson remains. War is hell, always, forever, without exception. No glory, no honor, just suffering, just death. Just broken humans trying to survive hell on earth. That is the lesson of the trenches. Let's hope we finally learn it.